Okay, one last task for this particular module, and we'll just go back to VS Code. I'm just going to clean up the tabs at the top. And what we want to do is open up our app module. Now, this particular file can get pretty outrageously large if we only use a single module for what we're doing here. Now, each of these imports is pretty small at the moment, so it's kind of fine. But what we can do is add an additional module for things that we use from places like NGX Bootstrap, for this toaster module, and just keep our app module for Angular specific imports. Things like the browser module, the app routing module, the HTTP client module, but everything else can go in a separate module of its own, and then we'll import that module into here. So it's a very common thing to do, just a bit of housekeeping to keep our app module as tidy as we can, even though it will still get pretty big by the time we've finished this. And we're not going to worry about this unless I stop the app and restart it and the error continues to persist. Sometimes when you're making changes in your code and we've got our Angular live server going on, sometimes it'll just show an error even though there isn't really one. If you ever see something like that, where I just saw that, didn't really know why we're seeing it, then the best thing to do is just restart the app and see if the issue persists. Don't forget you're making changes to the code whilst the Angular server is trying to restart and keep up with what you're doing. So sometimes you will see that kind of thing. Anyway, what I come to the terminal for in the first place was to create a new module that we can use to store our third-party things inside. So I'm just going to cd into source and cd into the app. And what we'll do here is we'll just create a new directory. So I'm going to say make dir, and I'm just going to call this one modules, _modules, and press return. And I'm going to cd into the new directory we've just created. And what we'll do is we've got an ng command for this, of course, to create a new module. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll say ngg, and we can use the alias of m for module, and we're going to call this one shared, and we're also going to make it flat so it doesn't create a folder to store the module inside. We don't need to skip tests because modules do not have any testing specification files that come along with it, so we'll just press return, and that goes ahead and creates the shared module. So what we'll do, we'll open up the shared module, and automatically it's going to import the common module. Every Angular module needs this, and that's absolutely fine. So what we'll do is we'll go and reopen up the app module, and what we want to do in here is take our imports and cut them out of here and paste them inside our shared module, and let's see if we can bring these in automatically. Aha! It does work inside this one. That's interesting. And we should be able to bring the toast module in the same way, and we can. That's good news. And when we're using this system, we're going to go to our app module and we're going to import the shared module. So now everything in the shared module is going to be available via our app module to our components in our application. However, what we also need to do inside the shared module, if we want those, or we want what's inside the imports to be available everywhere else, then we also need to export the modules inside here as well. So what we also need to do is add another array in here for the exports, open up the array, and then we need to export the BS drop-down module, and we also need to export the toaster module. We don't need to add the configuration when we export, we only need to add this configuration when we're importing. So it doesn't make much difference at the moment, but as we use more and more Angular Bootstrap components, we add other third-party modules, then our app module can get a bit out of control. And this is just a little bit of housekeeping to avoid that. What we should do though, after making a change, is make sure we haven't broken anything in our application. So the drop-down functionality should still work. If I just refresh the page, then our drop-down functionality is coming from NGX Bootstrap. If I log out and just try and log in with a bad username and password, then our toaster module is still working as well. So we've finished the end of this module. We've got plenty of things to cover still on routing, but we'll come across it as we build our application. We'll consider this job done for section 6. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at our changes inside our source control, and all of these look pretty good to me. And we'll stage these changes, and then we'll just say end of section 6 as the commit message. And then we'll just go ahead and commit, and we'll push to our GitHub repository. And we'll wrap up this section with a summary.